Hello, I am Madam Gracious Kanzieni from Educare, Tanzania. Warmly welcome in our best media, Educare TZ, so as we can discuss our A-level tutorials. And my student, here we have our simple and interesting subject known as chemistry, and our class level is Form 5. My student, we are proceeding with inorganic chemistry, and we are discussing our first subtopic, which is all about periodic classification. My student, today we are going to look on the reaction of the hydrates of period 3 element with water. I can remind you, in the previous session we tried to look on the periodic trends along the period 3. Tukasema kwamba kwenye period 3 the periodic trends, we are going to consider the issue of the hydrate, the issue of the chlorides, the issue of the hydroxide, and finally we're going to look about the oxides. But also we try to discuss or to see the different elements involved which are involved in the period 3. Elements zote ambazo zinakuwa involved kwenye ile group, period 3, tulijaribu kuziangalia. So here let us go specific, starting to discuss the reactions of the hydrates of period 3 element with water. Remember, we are still in our part of the chemical periodicity. We are talking about the periodic trend in the chemical properties of the different elements. But here specifically, we are talking about the period 3, the period 3 element. And here our reactions, or the chemical reaction here, we're going to look on the compounds or the issue of the hydrates. So anasema kwamba the hydrates are formed when element react with the hydrogen gas. Kwamba ili tuweze kupata hydrate compound, maana yake kwamba element ina react na hydrogen gas, kwa maana kwamba element yoyote ile ambayo ipo attached with the hydrogen mean that inatengeneza the hydrate, inatengeneza the hydrate. So anasema kwamba the sodium and magnesium react with the hydrogen to form ionic hydrate which have basic character. Sasa tumesema kwamba tunapozungumzia hydrate tunazungumzia zile element ambazo zina react na nani? Na hydrogen gas. Sasa for instance, you can refer the sodium and magnesium. Sasa sodium and magnesium, once they react with the hydrogen gas, we are going to have the hydrate compound. For instance, tunaenda kuwa na hii ionic, it tends to form ionic hydrate, ambazo hizi ionic hydrate zinakuwa na basic character, kwamba zina exist as a basic compound, ila zitakuwa ni ionic, zitakuwa ni ionic compound or hydrates. So many electronegative elements such as sulfur and chlorine react with the hydrogen to form a covalent acidic hydrate. So can you see the difference? Sodium na magnesium, yeye anaenda kutengeneza the what? The basic. Anaenda kutengeneza basic hydrate. Lakini utaona kwamba for instance sulfur and chlorine, so tutaona magnesium na sodium are metals. Lakini huyu sulfur and chlorine, these are non-metals. Anasema kwamba it tend to react with the hydrogen gas to form the covalent acidic hydrate. Is different. Sasa unaona element ni the same, zipo pamoja kwenye the same period, lakini we can see they behave differently. For instance, sodium na magnesium zinatengeneza ionic hydrate and also they exist as a basic character. Lakini tunapokuja kwenye sulfur na chlorine, hizi ni non-metals, zenyewe zinatengeneza covalent character. Na zikitengeneza hii covalent character huwa zina exist as a what? Anasema as acidic hydrate. So the hydrates of the sodium, magnesium, and aluminum are ionic. So somehow you can understand that those metals react na hydrogen, obviously zinaenda kutupatia nini? Ionic hydrate, ionic hydrate, and anasema kwamba huwa zina exist as a basic character. So anasema they react with water to form metal hydroxide and hydrogen gases. Sasa tunapokuja kwenye hizi hydrate, sasa tumesema zile hydrate ni zile element ambazo zipo associated na nani? Na hydrogen. Maana kwamba we expect tuna element ya sodium yupo na hydrogen pembeni, tuna element ya magnesium yupo na nani? Na hydrogen. Sasa hizi hydrate sasa zinapo react na water molecule, anasema kwamba zinaenda kutupatia the hydroxide compound, metal hydroxide, but also it's going to release the gas known as hydrogen gas. For instance, these are the reactions. Hapa tunaona reaction kati ya sodium hydride. Sodium hydride ina maana ni sodium H. Sasa ushaona hydrogen hapa, unajua obvious this is a hydride compound kwa sababu kuna hydrogen hapa kwenye hii metal. So this is sodium hydride. So obvious it reacts with the water molecule, and we are going to have the sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. Also we have the magnesium hydride here plus water molecule. We are going to have the magnesium hydroxide, but also we are going to release or to produce the hydrogen gas as usual. Anasema kwamba aluminium hydride also called alane. Sometime here aluminium hydride inaitwa alane au alumane. Haya ni majina ambayo sometime you can be asked, au anaweza kutumia majina afu usielewe kwamba ni aluminium hydride. Kwa hiyo ukikutana na hii alumane or sometime alane, you can recall that or you can remind yourself that this is all about aluminium hydrides. Anasema kwamba this react with the water to form hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Kwa hiyo the same na yenyewe inaenda kureact na water molecule, and finally we are going to have the hydroxide of metal, but also we are going to release the hydrogen gas. So this is the reaction which show how do this aluminium hydride react with water molecule. Kwa hiyo unaona kwamba this is aluminium hydride ina react na 3 mole of water molecule here, and therefore we're going to have 1 mole of aluminium hydroxide plus 3 mole of hydrogen gas. This is about aluminium. But also we have lithium aluminium hydride. Lithium aluminium hydride. Kumbuka zile compound zote au zile elements zote ambazo zimeambatana na hydrogen ndizo tunazoziita hydride. Ndizo tunazoziita hydride. Sasa tuna hii hapa ambayo ni lithium aluminium hydride. Maana tuna lithium, tuna aluminium, at the same time yupo nani? Yupo hydrogen. That's why it formed the hydride compound. Sasa anasema kwamba this compound dissolve in water to form lithium hydroxide, aluminium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Sasa hii lithium aluminium hydride compound utaona kwamba kuna double element. Kuna lithium at the same time kuna aluminium. Sasa inavyo dissolve with water au inavyo react na water, tunaenda kupata the lithium hydroxide but also aluminium hydroxide, and finally we are going to release the water molecule, and this is the reaction which demonstrates this reaction of the lithium aluminium hydroxide. As you see here, this is the lithium aluminium hydride plus water molecule. We're going to form this product, lithium hydroxide, aluminium hydroxide, but also we're going to form the hydrogen gas. So the hydride of the silicon. Sasa tuone the hydride of the silicon. Anasema kwamba the hydride of the silicon which is known as a silane. Haya majina sometime you have to know, kwa sababu wakati mwingine utakutana na swali hajatumia hiyo silicon unayojua wewe, ametumia hizo names nyingine. Kwa mfano kule aluminium tumesema alane au alumane, hayo ndio majina yake. Sasa for instance hapa hii silicon hydride sometime is known as silane. Anasema kwamba it is partially ionic. Kwamba the hydride of the silicon which is known as silane is partially ionic. Kwamba hii hydride of the silicon moja kwa moja inajulikana kama ni nini? Ni partially ionic. When we talk about partially, maana ni kitu ambacho not completely. Kwa hiyo ina exist as ionic but it is in partial way. So anasema kwamba the partial charge on the atom are relatively small. That's the reason. Kwamba this silicon hydride it reacted the partially ionic. Why? Because they charge, partial charges of the atom are relatively small. They are relatively small. So this is all about the hydride of the silicon. Kwa hiyo kila kwenye hydride compound utaona kwamba ina display its features or its characteristic. Tumeona kwenye zile hydride of the aluminium, magnesium, the sodium, the hydride of the lithium aluminium hydride. Zote zile utaona kwamba kila compound ina produce its product, but also utaona kwamba inakuwa na unique features ambazo zinakuwa ni tofauti na hydride compound nyingine. So now you can see that when we talk about this hydride of the silicon, anasema kwamba due to that, hence it dissolves in water to form the silicon hydroxide and hydrogen gas in the presence of the strong base as a catalyst. Sasa kwa sababu hii silicon anasema kwamba it form the partial ionic, alafu anasema zile partial charge zake is relatively small, therefore anasema kwamba ina dissolve the silicon hydride tend to dissolve in water and therefore it tend to form the silicon hydroxide but also the hydrogen gas in the presence. Kuna kuwa na kichocheo ambapo we call it here in chemistry language we call it catalyst. The catalyst, substance which speed up the rate of chemical reaction, but at the end of the reaction it remain chemically unchanged, haiteki part kwenye reaction. This is a catalyst. Kwa hiyo utaona kwamba ina react silicon hydride plus water molecule under this strong base ambayo ni sodium hydroxide, na hii ina-act kama kichocheo, ina-act kama catalyst ili kuhakikisha reaction inaweza kutake place, kwa sababu tumeambiwa it is partially ionic and it is partial charge and relatively small. So therefore we're going to form the silicon hydroxide, but also as usual we're going to release the hydrogen gas. So my student, this is our first part of our discussion. Thank you so much. Stay tuned so as you can proceed with the second part of our discussion. Bye bye.